the bottom line, I suppose, of the zero scenario, if you like, is really that nothing will change, or not very radically, not at least in the 10-year remit that we've been talking about, despite these changes that Rogers,
okay,
Professor Belaytho has suggested are just around the corner, if not happening already. But I think there are very good reasons why we could be sceptical about the fact that there's rapid change, particularly in the Spanish context, although I think some of the factors which we identify are probably global ones as well. And this graphic, in fact, represents, however wired up the classrooms are, the teachers still at the front of the blackboard giving the lesson. And that's one of the points. We've broken these into two sets of factors. If you like, the negative factors, the negative reasons why things won't change very rapidly. Basically, questions of inertia. That change doesn't necessarily happen as quickly as some of the futurologists claim it will. You think about the history of English language teaching and look back, and some of us can look back further than others, and I can look back to the mid-70s and see things haven't changed a great deal, actually. The methodology that I was first trained in, and then I went subject to train other teachers in, which was encapsulated in the so-called 4-week course, which became the model of subsequent training, like what we call the CELTA now, or the Trinity course. In fact, methodologically, there hasn't been a great deal of change in the 35 or so years since I was first trained. I look at the coursebook materials, they've become more glossy, but the premises which they're based on, which is sort of working students through a syllabus, a grammatical syllabus, has not changed despite all the various theoretical influences that came in with the communicative approach in the mid-70s and the 80s. There hasn't really been a change. You look at the syllabus of a current coursebook now and take away all the gloss and the sort of the skills work and everything, you still find there's a basic grammatical syllabus which has not that changed since the 30s and 40s of the last century. And things go in cycles. Again, if you've been in the profession long enough as I have, you'll have seen how things come in and go in and out of cycles, in particular kinds of technologies sort of rediscovered, but in a kind of new, sexier way. There are also very strong conservative forces impacting on what we do, and without wanting to be too negative about the exam system or publishing, but they are inherently conservative. There have been enormous improvements across the board in the exams. FCE has changed radically since when I first started teaching it years ago. But nevertheless, they do exert an enormous pressure and conformity on teaching, and they don't encourage a great deal of innovation. Publishing has to be conservative because so much is at stake. What it costs to produce a coursebook series now is absolutely astronomical. So no one's going to take a risk with a methodology or an approach which is very innovative or different or likely to rock the boat in any way. So these are very strong conservative forces impacting upon the situation. Then there's a situation of the teachers themselves. Famously, ELT, EFL is not, for many people, it's not really a career. It's a kind of a gap year thing that they do. It's significant that the figures of people who go and do initial training courses globally are huge. Tens of thousands of people are trained on CELTA courses, on Trinity courses. But the number who then continue into further training, like the Delta, or doing a master's in TEFL or applied linguistics, is tiny by comparison. In other words, what's happening here, either people are staying in the profession and not getting up and not upgrading, or they're leaving the profession after 2 or 3 years. And I think both of those factors, and the fact is they're leaving it because they're so badly paid or the conditions are not good, and that the pay has not improved. In the 20 years I've been in Spain, it's relatively, you're poorer off now, I think, or worse off as a language teacher than you were 20 years ago because of the cost of living, etc. Not many new language teachers can afford to buy a house, for example. There's a lack of, in many institutions, the lack of in-service training provision. So there's not much encouragement for teachers to change, to rethink. The ones who do stay in the profession are doing the same thing again and again because essentially the course books haven't changed, the syllabuses haven't changed. So there's minimal motivation to change. I can see a spelling mistake here. Technology used to reinforce. Yeah, when teachers do use technology, they often use it in rather, in ways that don't in fact are not that innovative. They're simply, instead of putting a blue, you know, remember blue tack and a visual aid that you cut out of a Sunday, you put that on the board, now you just beam it up, but it's an image you've collected from Google Image or whatever, but you're using it to the same effect, or using it to present a particular structure or whatever. So it looks nice, the students are impressed with the technologies being seen to be used, but in fact the actual uses to which they're put pedagogically are not that different, perhaps. I'm generalizing wildly here, but I mean, I think that is a danger that teachers are simply recruiting a technological innovation simply to keep perpetuating a kind of methodology which is still frog marching the students through the grammar syllabus. Teacher training has not changed, I'm ashamed to say. At the level of CELTA courses, Delta courses and other providers, you look at the syllabus for something like the Delta now, there's very little in it about technology or how to use technology innovatively. And this is something that is a cause of great concern to people who want teachers to become more techno-savvy, and yet there seems to be no incentive to do this for teachers who are following these schemes. You have to go and do a master's in somewhere like Manchester, specifically look at using technology for educational purposes to become an expert in that area, unless you're very keen to teach yourself.